Welcome back to January. It's the start of 2025. And if you're anything like me, you're looking at the new year going, right, what are my goals? What am I doing? And part of that strategy will no doubt be about reaching out to your customers, creating growth, perhaps creating new products or even new services. You might be going in a different direction entirely. However, you're not going to get there without a decent email list. Now, if one of your New Year's resolutions is to email your customers more often, or even to grow your email list, you need to know where you're starting. And for a lot of people, when I first start working with them, the key problem they have is embarrassment, because what they have is a zombie list. Now, a zombie list happens to the best of us. We get too busy, time drags on, our paying clients become more important, or we suddenly have to focus on this project, and the email marketing gets left behind. Because it goes on in the background day in, day out, and people don't really notice in the first week if you skip emailing them. They definitely notice though after a month, and after 6 months you're like, oh my god, how can I ever face them again? So, your resolution, if you're seeing this in January, but it can apply to any month, if it's April, if it's August, I don't mind, but your resolution right now is to email your list. And it doesn't have to be complicated. The whole point is to simply say, hi, I'm still here, and I'm still ready to serve you. Here's a few ways I can do it, and if you've forgotten what I am, this is who I am. It can be that easy. At the end of the day, you're emailing people you want to work with, okay? They're not quite on par with, say, a best friend, but they're definitely on par with colleagues I like the look of, or someone I'm going out for a glass of wine with. That's what you're aiming for. If it's someone you think, oh, I've got to get in touch with them again, ditch them. There's no amount of money in the world that is worth you working with someone which gives you that Monday morning feeling. Going back though to your zombie list and the inevitable embarrassment about emailing them again, the aim here is going to be how can you do it in such a way that you reinvigorate your list? Now, here's where I've got some bad news for you. No matter what you do, even if you give away golden bars and a cure for cancer, every year your email list is going to shrink. It can shrink by up to 20% depending upon the industry you're in and what you're offering. Okay, so for example, if you're in a very time sensitive industry, such as baby clothes, you know that your list is going to age out within a year, possibly 3 years if you're offering toddler clothes. But the whole point is you know that the demand will go, and you've got to keep constantly filling in that demand by getting more people onto your list. If by comparison, let's say you're selling insurance, that list is probably going to remain fairly static. You'll still lose people, but it'll be people moving house, maybe having an illness, even dying. Yes, people die. You've got to accept that some of your list will literally die. So the aim here, a good industry rate for list growth, a good rule of thumb, is between 1 and 3% a month. And that does a good job of staving off the list inactives and list deaths. However, that goes hand in hand with you actively nurturing your list and nourishing it by telling people and reminding them who you are, what you offer, and what you're doing for them right now. At the end of the day, people don't care about what fabulous thing you've got. They care about how you're going to affect transformation in their life, how you're going to make it better. If you can do that, you've got your finger on the pulse and you get a conversation with them because we're too busy for anything else. Make them laugh. Make them cry. Make them even throw their laptop across the room if you have contrary viewpoint, but whatever you do, don't bore them. So, let's get on to your first email of the year when you said hi, hello, and then you think, what do I do next? Okay? And this is one of the reasons why zombie lists happen so much. It's because you're lacking a strategy. Now, depending on the size of your list, depends what you do next. The first thing is, if it's been 6 months or more, a lot of your list data will be debunked. You can't rely on it anymore. You can't say someone who opened it 6 months ago will still open it today. So getting back into regular cadence of emailing them will immediately establish who's left that's interested and who isn't. Don't feel bad. Quite a few of you will go into the spam bin. So you've got to have a strategy in place for what happens if, say, the bottom 20% will never respond. They don't respond after you've emailed them 4 times, after 6 times, after 12 times. You get to choose how long you want to email them for, but it is hurting your deliverability and your sender's reputation if half of those are still going into junk or spam, which is entirely possible. So, have a plan. The first one is, let's say, after 4 times, if they haven't responded, I'm going to email them directly and say, are you still interested in what I've got to offer? And then, and this is the hard part, you're going to archive them. If they don't respond, there's no point in them being on your email list because they're hurting you, they're hurting your bottom line, and they don't want to hear from you anymore. It'd be a bit like going onto Tinder and swiping left and going, I'm still going to email them anyway. I'm still going to text them anyway. You don't do it. So yeah, not cool. Not cool for you, not cool for them. So be prepared to lose that 20% off your list when you start emailing again. The next thing you need to do is segmentation. Now, the best results I've ever had from my clients comes from when we actually segment. And the segment doesn't have to be big. It can be time zone, it can be interest. It can be people who have bought versus those who have not. There's quite a few different ways you can slice and dice it without necessarily asking for any more information from your subscribers, because you look at what they say and do as opposed to what they tell you. Because people are liars. We like to think, oh yeah, of course I'm going to buy your course. But in reality, they're saying that to make you feel better. They're not necessarily going to do it, because at the time it can depend on how much money have I got? Is this going to give me a return on investment? Do I believe that I'll finish the course? Am I going to implement it? So there's a lot of different things. Just if I'm selling a course that you've got to think about, even if someone says yes. Never believe them until that money's in the bank. The same applies for consultancy, the same applies for any services. If they buy online software from you, for example, can you say, get it in for 12 months? Can you upgrade them? There's choices there. And every time there's a choice, some people will say, of course I will, and then say no. You've got to treat your segmentation in the same pattern. But the good news is that if you have a list of under 1,000, you don't need to segment that much at all, really. In fact, I recommend just emailing this and getting to the regular cadence and rhythm and nuance of it, because later on, you're going to really reap the benefits of that. Because a list of under 1,000 is typically people who really want to hear from you, okay? It's not people that have just lazily opted in via an ad, or people that have gone, oh yeah, maybe. These are people that have heard you and buy into you as a person. So, under 1,000, it's hard to build the list, but once you've got it, it's a lot easier to keep it going. And you can ask for referrals. So if you want to have an email strategy, your first email is, hi, I'm here, this is what I do. The second email is, I've got this offer, are you interested? The third one is, how can I help you? And the fourth one is, would you like to refer someone? And obviously you do that with an incentive. Now, for the larger lists, of course, segmentation is recommended. And you're aiming for, let's say, around 5,000 segment. If about 5,000 allows you the chance to do A/B split testing, but it's also small enough for you to test and see the differences and really note it. Now, if you've got a list of, say, 60,000 or more, again, you're going to have to think, how do I split this? How do I treat them? How do I nurture them? And that's where workflows come in. Now, that's a bit outside the scope of today's video. It's something to consider for the future. Going back to your zombie list, however, there's no reason why, if you've got a very large list, you can't split that zombie list. And you can do it with people who have bought in the past and for those who have not. You can even do it by origin. So if you know, for example, they came in through your website versus those who came in via a lead magnet, you can refer back to that and say, by the way, did you know we've updated our lead magnet? Or, oh, we've got this new one which I think would be a really good fit for you. And if they have come in via the website and they haven't downloaded your lead magnet, you've got no opportunity. This leads me on to my next point. A really good way of keeping your list invigorated and young, as opposed to, decrepit and falling off the perch, is to use your lead magnet strategically. Just because someone has been on this for ages doesn't mean they've downloaded the latest lead magnet. It certainly doesn't mean they know about what you're doing now. You've got to assume that life is busy and they've got more important things on. So always feel free to bang on about your latest offer, your new surface, or the best thing that's happened since sliced bread to you. Because there's a good chance they haven't heard about it. We live this day in, day out, they do not. You are then doing them a service, even if you feel like, oh God, everyone has heard about this and I'm turning into the class 4. Do it 3 times more than you think. And yes, use those lead magnets. I mean, ideally, you'll be refreshing and reusing your lead magnets every quarter. So you have something fresh to offer your list. And just because they're on the list doesn't mean they can't benefit from your expertise. After all, you're offering this to fresh people, so why not to people that already got the buy-in? Because that takes them one step closer to buying from you. Now, if you don't have a lead magnet, there's a few very quick ways you can rustle one up. The first one is you can collaborate. Go find someone in a complementary position to you and have them on for a podcast. Have them on for a video, collaborate with them on PDF, do something like that. Create a lead magnet. They can hook to their people and one you can hook to yours. And obviously, having 2 names on there and 2 sets of experience where it dovetails really works well. The next thing you can do is run a competition. Now, I don't mention this in my first protocol for the simple reason that competitions come with a lot of tire kickers. People that sign up purely because they want the prize and not because they're interested in you. So this has to be treated with care. You've also got the problem that lots of spammers and spam bots do go after these competition prizes these days. It's the nature of the world we live in. However, done right, they can be a really valuable tool to getting people going, oh yeah, I want to be back on there again. And once you've got those clicks and opens going, that gives you the chance to launch into a further conversation about what you can offer them. At the end of the day, email marketing is all about having conversations with real people. The final thing you can do, if you have a focused strategy in place for your website, if you're good in the search rankings, if you're good in social, is to reuse your pop-ups. So you can use cookie tracking here, where it says if you're a new user, obviously sign into your email list, get this fabulous thing from me. But if it's a returning user or someone you've seen in the past, you can say, we remember you, would you like to have this fabulous thing from me? And whilst you're at it, get on a call. So there you go. There are 4 good strategies you can use to reinvigorate your email list. Now, the next thing is, once you've got it up and running again, you've got to promise your subscribers that you're going to keep going. How can you do that? Well, the easy way is to have a schedule in place. So if you commit to them that you're going to email them once a month, then you'll do it once a month. Once a quarter, yeah, that's still cool, but I wouldn't recommend any less than that. Once a week to, every other day, that depends entirely on your industry and how much you can bear to write or to pump out in terms of your information, how much they want to hear too. Because again, if you're in the B2B business, people are incredibly busy and they want stuff which saves them time, as a rule of thumb. If you're in the B2C world, what people want is infotainment. And if you want to be master of both, you combine both techniques. So think, how can you produce high quality, classy content that people actually need in their lives, that will actually make a difference for them? And then you base your cadence strategy around that and you tell them. Bear in mind, of course, that that's just one of many different touch points, as we call them in the marketing trade. So you might be prodding them with email, but you might also be talking to them on social. You might send them a gift, you might drop off a letter or a postcard. You might even be talking to them in person at an event. So there's quite a few different ways in which you can keep the conversation going. But it all comes back to consistency when it comes to email marketing. Consistency, segmentation, and delivering what you promised. Until next time, take care. Bye.